Welcome back to Hardball. Amid the growing uproar over the separation of children from their parents at the border, Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen today continued to say that there's no such policy. Let's watch her.
It's not a policy. Our policy at DHS is to do what we're sworn to do, which is to enforce the law.
Well, let's bring in the Hardball Roundtable for that one. Yamiche Alcindor, White House correspondent for the PBS NewsHour and MSNBC political contributor. Chris Wilson is a Republican pollster, and Jose Aristimuño is former deputy press secretary for the DNC and a Democratic strategist. Jose, you're up. So what do you think of this thing? These kids are, apparently they're hiding the girls, they're hiding the young boys, they're showing some of the older boys, but it sounds awful. The crying on the tapes are pretty brutal.
This is horrible, Chris. We're talking about over 2,000 children, some of them girls, who have been separated from their family, literally at the expense of President Trump trying to get his obsession with this racist.
That picture is going to grab everybody. See that picture we're looking at, the kid in the red shirt? That picture
horrible.
Grabs you.
Enough. The president can literally pick up the phone, call DHS, call Jeff Sessions at the Department of Justice and say, you know what, stop these separations. We don't need to use 2,000 children as literally negotiation chips to try to get this. One of
the liberal voices I've heard is Ted Cruz. The liberal, I'm being sarcastic. Ted Cruz wants to change this policy.
Yeah, he introduced legislation tonight to fix the policy, to fix this, and I think it has a real opportunity for bipartisan support, and it could have it fixed within a matter of a week. So hopefully we can see people come together.
Does that tell you the politics are not working in the president's favor if the fact that conservative like Ted Cruz, who's to the right of him?
I don't think this is an ideological issue, Chris. I think it's a matter of something that just needs to be fixed.
You make my point. You make my point. Yamiche.
Well, I think that this is a policy that's both political and cultural. Remember that President Trump built his campaign on demonizing immigrants, and I think that that's what
rapists.
Called
them rapists.
And today he called them thieves. So there's this idea
they don't look like rapists or thieves.
Yeah. So there's this idea that people surrounding the president, including Stephen Miller, and I would say Steve Bannon from the outside, thought that they could put this policy in place and that people were going to kind of go one step further and say Mexicans are rapists and criminals, and by the way, we should also separate these families. And what they're seeing is that that's just not going to be the case.
Chris, do you think that Steve Miller's having a good day at the White House? Is the president patting him on the back? Good move there. Let's look at these kids' pictures. Anyway, just minutes ago, Senator John McCain tweeted and called the policy of separating children an affront to the decency of the American people and contrary to principles and values upon which our nation was founded. The administration has the power to rescind this policy. It should do so now. Boy, and he's in bad shape, too, to come out. And let's talk about this, about what happened here with Joe Walsh, saying the president, he says the members of the House, where he served for a while, all believe the president lies all the time. A hell of a statement. Anyway, that's it. All of them believe that he's a liar. It's an incredible statement by a former member.
I covered Capitol Hill. There are a lot of, when you talk to Republicans off the record, a lot of them kind of give you this wink that's like, we know that he kind of messes with the truth. We understand that that's a lie, but we can't say that out loud because we're scared of our districts. I mean, he's saying something that everyone in Capitol Hill in some ways knows.
Can you say that, Chris?
I'm a little uncomfortable with us making Joe Walsh the final arbitrator of who tells the truth and who doesn't. I mean, there's a reason why Joe Walsh is no longer in Congress, and I think it's making these crazy statements like this from a standpoint of Joe Walsh doesn't have any idea what Donald Trump says or who he is.
So you don't think the backroom chatter in the clip?
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about us using Joe Walsh as somehow
what about the general's question?
I doubt he has many friends left in Congress.
Does he have credibility with the rank and file in the Republican caucus?
I think he does for the most part. Yeah, it's not as a situation where if he shows up and he comes to Congress and talks to them as he has recently. I mean, that is something that still means something.
Yeah, I mean,
it's important to them.
My reporting tells me that Republicans are very wary of this president. They don't trust him. I think there's this idea that he could force them into voting for a policy that he could then say he hates, and that they don't really have any sort of relationship with the president that makes them feel like they can trust him. That's the reporting that I've gotten from.
You know, when I get a sense doing, I think the sense is coming into a very divided state more than we're in right now. I don't think there is going to be an easy adjudication of all this stuff with Russia interference and the obstruction of justice charges. I don't think it's going to be simple where everybody will hear the same thing. Jose, no. I think we're going to have a fight that goes on. It won't be settled by a simple vote of impeachment. It'll just continue. I think the president in this issue with the kids at the border has found the sensitive human piece of it that I think is going to change some sides. But most of it's just going to be ideological warfare.
I agree 100%, Chris. I mean, with the whole Russia investigation, this is going to go well until the midterms. So we're going to continue to be talking about this day after day. But to your point, the president of the United States currently, president of the United States of America, we have to really just think about that for a second, lies on a daily basis, every single day.
He also gets the pardon on a daily basis.
It's unbelievable.
Why hasn't he pardoned these guys? He's talking today. There's Rudy Giuliani today, just throwing out the idea, oh, yeah, he'll pardon when the time comes. This is how I think the country's going to stay divided. You've got a smattering of spray of pardons out there. The country will just be more divided.
I mean, the president has signaled through the pardons he's already done, including Scooter Libby, that he's open to pardoning on political reasons. But I'll say this. Remember, we always talk on the show about Democrats getting their message, how they're going to get together. Kids being separated but from their families could be the thing that gets Democrats to actually say, this is what we're going to unite on. This is what we're going to put slogans on. This is what we're going to do. So I think in some ways...
More than Parkland.
Yeah, more than Parkland, I think in some ways.
They don't have to fight the NRA on this baby. Anyway, Yamiche Alcindor speaking wisely, Chris Wilson speaking conservatively, and Jose Aristimuño. Thank you, sir. We'll be right back after this.